Welcome, everyone. Lake Lewis Show right here on Sports Journey Media. Happy January 17th. Happy Friday to you out there. If you're on your way home from work, or if you're checking us out right now at work, we've got a great show lined up for you today. Going to bring in my agent, Jesse White, sports agent, and it's been a little while since Jesse's come on with us, and we're going to have him come on today so we can break down this week's conference championships. We're going to give you our NFL predictions. We'll talk about Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, old school football, and also what could be the weather in New York. So without further ado, let's bring him in right now. Jesse, what's going on?
Hey, Lake, how you doing?
I'm hanging in there. It's been a while since you've been on the show with us.
It's been too long.
Well, listen, conference championships are here, and I think you have two different styles of play. You're going to have New England against Denver in a game where you're going to have perhaps two of the best quarterbacks of all time going at it. And we all know the history between those two quarterbacks. We'll break that down shortly. But the other game is another compelling matchup because you have two teams that hate each other, meaning Seattle and San Francisco. Coaches don't like each other. Players don't like each other. And I know that you're not a big fan of that type of football as far as the brash talking. What are your thoughts on that game?
No, I'm not a fan of the talking at all. In my opinion, you go out, play the game, and shut up. I'm not a fan of it at all. And a lot of what I've seen through the playoffs so far from both Seattle and San Francisco, I could do without. But I guess when you're that good, you can do whatever you want until someone shuts you up, I guess.
Well, the flip side of it is, if you're playing a team that you're a mirror image of, you're not going to like each other because basically you guys do the same things. And let's face it, we go back a couple of years, Jesse, to the days of the NFC West being just atrocious. It was considered the worst division in football. And now you look at the teams this year, Cardinals very much could have been deserving of a playoff spot. And then you have the Rams that, gave all the three teams in the division outside of themselves some trouble, Yeah. So this might be one of the better, if not the best division of football right now. Well, let's break down this game, though.
Okay.
You have two teams that are obviously physical teams, two teams that have mobile quarterbacks, great defenses. But I think this game is going to come down to which offense, obviously, can produce the most. Your thoughts on that scenario?
Well, I think San Francisco has a better offense. However, I think Seattle does have the better defense, let alone playing at Seattle. Something about that place. No one plays well there. I think they've lost one game in the 2 years that Russell Wilson has been quarterback with Seattle. Based on that, I have to go with Seattle. I don't want to. I don't trust their offense. They seem very one-dimensional at times. Marshawn Lynch can be a very strong runner at times. Russell Wilson seems to disappear every now and then, but then in a big situation, he makes the throw he needs to make. And even though he doesn't put up great numbers all the time, he seems to always make the play he needs to make. And with San Francisco, they do have a better offense, but I don't know. I think Seattle's defense has shown that when they play San Francisco, especially in Seattle, they won't have too much of an issue with that. So I have to take Seattle.
It's going to be tough for me. And folks, right now, as you see, Jesse White joins us right now here on the Lake Lewis Show. Jesse, I think that when you think of Marshawn Lynch and Frank Gore, for that matter, for San Francisco, you're talking about two physical running backs and guys that don't turn the football over as well. As much of a pounding that they take, they don't fumble the ball. This game's going to come down to turnovers. Who's going to cough it up? My problem is when I look at Seattle, I don't see a team that turns the football over. We just talked about Marshawn Lynch, but if you look at Russell Wilson, he doesn't make mistakes, and I just don't see him in this game of this magnitude at home. He's in a comfort level. To me, this game comes down, in my opinion, to Colin Kaepernick. Can Kaepernick be the Kaepernick that we saw against Green Bay? Can he be the Kaepernick we saw last week against Carolina, where he made plays out of the pocket, but he also made some big-time throws as well? I don't know. We're going to find out. This game, in my opinion, is really going to be the coming out song for Colin Kaepernick. If he can win this game in Seattle, he has arrived, and you're going to have to start mentioning his name as far as the upper echelon quarterbacks in the NFL. I'm not going to give you my prediction yet because there's more things that I do want to break down here. If you look at the wide receiver play, both teams have guys that have come back later in the year to give them a little bit of a punch. If you look at San Francisco, Michael Crabtree, I think, has really opened it up for everyone on that team where now you can't, double team Anquan Bolden. Now you can't take the middle of the field away against Vernon Davis. He really spreads the field out for you. And that's going to be a big plus against that Seattle defense where we know their secondary probably is the best secondary, the best back four in the NFL. I'm just excited, man. You see, I'm all over the place here. I'm really excited about this game. This is an old school football game that I like the caliber of play that you're going to get in this. And I love the fact that the coaches don't care about each other, going back to their days in the Pac-10 where Jim Harbaugh was at Stanford and Pete Carroll was at USC. And you remember the 1 year USC lost when they had a chance to repeat. Where they had a chance to go back again for another potential national championship. That loss was to who?
Stanford.
It was to Stanford and Jim Harbaugh. So, of course, they don't like each other. I'm just trying to set the whole scenario up, the piping the noise in the stadium up there in Seattle. The fans don't like it. You see the new commercial right now with Colin Kaepernick and, where he's, I guess with the Dre Beat headsets and he's walking through the crowd and they're yelling at him. It's literally going to be like that. I'm excited about it. I'm actually going to take San Francisco. I think Seattle is just a dominant football team, but they're undefeated at home this year. And when you play a divisional team 3 times, teams know you. San Francisco has not played well in Seattle the last 2 times they've been there. They've been blown out. I just think that this team knows now what they have to do when they get off the bus. They cannot start slow. They're going to have to come out. They're going to have to be clicking on all cylinders. I'm taking the 49ers.
Yeah, and I think Seattle lost one right there at the end of the year at home this year. I forget who it was to, but I think they may have dropped one. But then with San Francisco, let me ask you this. If San Francisco loses this game, they've been to the NFC Championship game 3 years in a row and made it to the Super Bowl once. Are they the new Philadelphia Eagles?
I'm going to say no. And the reason, Jesse, I'm going to say no is because, listen, people underestimate how tough that was for Andy Reid and the Eagles to do.
Oh, absolutely. Not taking anything away from them. That's a fantastic feat. Yeah, to get to the Super Bowl, to get to the conference championship are probably the 2 hardest things you can do in professional football. Philadelphia did it 5 times. Yeah. That's. I think most teams, hey, listen, you're a Redskins fan. Are you telling me that if I could give you the proposition that the Redskins would be in 5 straight NFC championship games, but you had to, take the proposition knowing that there's a strong possibility that they would lose those games, wouldn't you still take them? Oh, absolutely. I would take 5 conference championships in a row, 1 Super Bowl appearance, no wins, over 1 Super Bowl win and 4 terrible seasons.
Absolutely.
I would take consistency.
Absolutely. So to answer your question, I don't know if you can say, I don't know if you can call San Francisco that. And the reason why I say that is because remember what Jim Harbaugh inherited when he got there. They were kind of, shambles and wreckage left behind with Mike Singletary. He came in and made the defense great, don't get me wrong, but offensively they were anemic. They couldn't do anything. And he's come in and in 3 years, he's put them in position to be in 3 straight 3 straight, conference championship games, possibly 2 Super Bowls. And I do have to say this, Jesse, go back to the summer when we were breaking all this stuff down. I did predict the San Francisco 49ers to beat, yes, the Baltimore Ravens. Okay, I'm half wrong on that. But if San Francisco wins this thing, I'm right at the end of the day, and that's all that matters. So,
hey, I have my team left. I have Denver left in it. I had Denver, New Orleans.
You did, and I give you credit. You also had Wes Welker getting 80 catches this year. So, hey, man.
Hey, I think he would have had it if he didn't sit out.
Coulda, woulda, shoulda. Should have played. Them concussions, I knew that could be possibilities that would keep him from getting to 80. No,
yeah. I'm bummed about that. I ran my mouth every time I was on this show about Wes Welker.
You know what? I'm not going to bring you on and kill you. I actually have to give you credit because, yeah, you're right. If he didn't get injured, if he didn't have to sit those games out, he was well over 80 catches. You're talking about a guy that would have been in the 110 range. So, I understand. The great football player. And speaking of Wes Welker, let's flip sides here.
Yep.
You took Seattle, I took San Francisco. We have the AFC, championship game, and I think if you're a football fan of just clean professionalism, everything that you want in two organizations, everything you want in two leaders, you get it tenfold in this game. Perhaps the two greatest quarterbacks of all time. And I said this, in my show earlier this week, Jesse, you better savor this because we're not assured, that Tom Brady and Peyton Manning are ever going to play again, in the postseason.
Yeah.
Sure, they may play in the regular season in years ahead, but as far as the postseason, it doesn't get any better than this for a conference championship. Now, Peyton has to try to get this thing done, something that, Tom Brady has kind of held over his head for many years, and he's got to do it at home now. Before he had to always do it on the road against Tom Brady. He got the one in Indy. But now you're Denver. This is the best team he's ever played on as far as the offensive talent. I'm going to put you and Peyton Manning on the spot here, Jesse, because I know you love that guy.
Yep.
Listen, if Peyton Manning loses to Tom Brady, forget about the conversation at all as far as him being the greatest quarterback of all time. Maybe he'll have the title of the greatest regular season quarterback. But as far as overall, you're going to have to look at the guy he's losing to as being the man because Tom Brady, in my opinion, is one more with less.
And if you've watched the show from early on preseason, I've touted Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning said that he had to have a huge year this year. This was the best team he's ever had. And this could be one of the worst teams that Tom Brady's had. If Tom Brady beats Peyton, I say that as if they play each other directly, but, if the Patriots,
technically they are.
If the Patriots beat the Broncos in Denver with the talent on those two teams, I will have to strongly reconsider the point I've defended this whole time.
Are you seriously coming on the show and telling me that you seriously would have to go and give my guy Tom Brady the mantle as the all-time great, the GOAT?
For the time being, until Peyton comes back for 5 more years and wins 5 Super Bowls, yes. After this year, if New England can win this game, short of Peyton throwing from 400 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, and losing the game, unless he puts up numbers like that and they lose, I think I would have to jump ship as much as it pains me to do. I can admit when I'm wrong if that were to happen.
Well, my friend, you may be having to do that because I think this game is tailor-made again. Could it possibly be 2 road teams winning? It's going to be tough. I'm not sure. I think that my prediction is going to say yes because I am taking San Fran and I'm taking New England. And I have to take New England because it sets up our next segment when we can get to that. We still got to break this game down, though. You look at the game. You remember Denver went into Foxborough earlier this year. Started that first half, looked great. Then all of a sudden, New England's offense just woke up, and they had been struggling pretty much all year trying to find the right combinations. And I think they found the combination that worked for them. Yeah. It's the running game, surprisingly. You say running game in New England. It's a 3-headed monster they have there at running back. And actually, if you put Vereen in the mix, you have 4 guys now at running back with Blount, with Bolden, with Ridley, yep. And then Vereen, so you're getting production there, kind of 4 guys equal 1, and it's all pro caliber 1. And then you look at Julian Edelman, and what he's doing, and Danny Amendola has come back healthy now. So now everything's starting to click, and they're doing this really with no tight end play, which is surprising to me. No Gronkowski, obviously we know about Aaron Hernandez. To me, again, this signals the greatness of Tom Brady and what Bill Belichick's doing there.
Yeah, and when you have 4 rushing touchdowns in a divisional playoff game, as the Grant Blunt did, that's pretty incredible. They do have a great ground game going. I think not having Von Miller is going to hurt Denver. Their whole defense isn't exactly what it was. Champ Bailey hasn't been healthy all year. But, I still have to take Peyton Manning. That offense is phenomenal. And I know that New England's always been really great about taking away your strengths and making you play to your weaknesses whenever you got on that field. And that's what's made the New England defenses so good over the years under Bill Belichick. But, I look at the first half, and it's really which half of football do you want to pick to think the true teams were in that first game? Do you think the first half, Denver's really that good, or do you think the second half, New England's that much better?
Probably a combination of both.
Right, and it's hard for me to pick which one because, it was just a tale of two games, really. But I have to stick with Denver. The numbers that Peyton's put up throughout this year, I'd like to think that he's going to do it and really make me look like I know what I'm talking about and that he's a great quarterback. You can't complete 68% of your passes in the season, have 55 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. What do you have, 5,400 yards? You can't do that in a season and disappear in the postseason. I think he shows up and gets it done. Yeah,
it's a game that you can't go wrong in. I mean, you're talking about two of the best, to ever do it. And, I think the Super Bowl will have, regardless of who wins any of these games, they're going to have a great Super Bowl because I think you can clearly make an argument that these are the four best teams in the NFL. I think these are the four most complete teams in the NFL. And it's kind of scary to say that with New England because I think we all agree they clearly have the least amount of talent as far as these four left. But Peyton Manning in Denver has given, that franchise a jolt. He's given them a boost where they really feel like it's theirs to win. Last year, I think it was kind of a wait-and-see approach to see how he played coming off that injury. He's had a full year. It's scary to say this, but he looks like he's playing his best football ever.
At 37.
At 37 years old, So he's got everything working for him in his favor. He's got a great cast of characters around him as well. But again, New England's been here before, and I think this is something that people have to remember. New England has been in these kind of situations. It's kind of like, in switching to professionalism here and going to college football. You and myself talked about it off the air, was that, you're a big Florida State guy.
Yep.
And we talked about the Florida State-Auburn national championship game. And I think it took Florida State a full half, maybe three quarters to realize, man, this team that we're lined up against, they're battle tested. They've been there against, the Alabamas and the LSUs of the world. Well, that's what New England represents right now for Denver. They've been in these situations. Tom Brady's been in these situations. The saving grace for Denver, so is Peyton Manning.
Right.
And now he's at home. He'll be comfortable. I'm sure, Mile High Stadium's going to be rocking. They're going to be ready to go. And I just think for the NFL, they couldn't have drawn up four better football games to especially when you have a Super Bowl in New York in a cold weather, cold climate place, first time ever. You want to make sure that the teams that get there are teams that are built to be able to handle the elements. Denver is a cold weather team, make no mistake about it. They're practicing in the snow all the time. Yeah. New England's a cold weather team. And contrary to what people believe, when you go to the Northwest, Great Northwest, Seattle's a pretty nippy place. Rains a lot, so they're used to the inclement climate. San Francisco's pretty brisk and windy. Rains there as well. So they're used to these elements. I'm just excited. I think that this may be the best four teams that we've seen as far as a semifinal situation, conference final situation, maybe in the last decade. Jesse, am I crazy by saying that?
No, I agree. Usually you have one team that just doesn't seem like they quite belong. I would say the only improvement that could be made to these four teams is if Washington was still in it.
Come on.
No, but that being said, this really is, when you're talking about division opponents that have really taken on the personality of their head coaches, as much as I don't like some of the play San Francisco and Seattle have, they play with attitude. They take on the personality of their coaches, and it makes it a great game to watch. You better believe there's going to be, I think the over-under would be 5.5 or 6.5 personal fouls in that game. There's going to be a lot of flags, a lot of chippiness.
Well, just go back to the Carolina game last week. It was almost a fight after every play.
Yeah, they could have flagged just about every one of them.
Well, and I would hope to say that for the coaches and the organizations, this isn't a divisional playoff game. This is a going to be a game that has national ramifications, and people are going to be watching this. You're going to have the old school guys like myself that don't mind that type of play. But you do want it to be clean, because now this is an NFL game. This isn't just, a lot of people may not have watched the Carolina, 49er games. They had no stake in that. But now you're talking about two great rivalries. People are going to want to see this game, so hopefully they can play a hard-nosed football game, but keep, as you call it, the shenanigans out the way of that. So let me ask you this question, Jesse. You were mentioning as far as teams taking on the personality of their coaches. Mm-hmm. Clearly, Pete Carroll gets a lot of credit. Jim Harbaugh gets a lot of credit, as well as, of course, the mastermind, Bill Belichick. But do you think a lot of people have forgotten the job that John Fox has done? I know he missed some games, because of his health. But you go back to last year, and you go back to, now where they are now. Mm-hmm. Do you think people underestimate the coaching job he's done because he does have, a great quarterback and before injury, defensive player of the year as well on the other side of the ball?
Yeah, and I think he's being overlooked, but I don't know that it's necessarily because of who he has. I think it is his personality. You look at the other three coaches. You have Belichick, who's well known for his quirkiness, his almost non-responsive responses to questions, and just the way he is with the press. You look at Harbaugh and you look at Carroll, they're very eccentric. They're out there. You always see them jumping around on the sideline. What do you see Fox doing? He doesn't draw attention to himself, and I think that causes him not to be talked about, and when you don't talk about him, you forget that he exists.
He's almost perfect if you think about it. That sounds like what you just named with John Fox. It almost sounds like Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
Peyton Manning
is.
It is, so again, these are mirror images of each other. Peyton Manning is John Fox now playing on the field, and there's no coincidence that these teams are where they are right now, where they're a game away from the Super Bowl, because the players get with what the coach is trying to accomplish. And I think that when you look at all these new coaching changes right now happening around the NFL, you hope the owners and the GMs have done their due diligence to say, hey, does this coach match the personality of the players? Mm-hmm. And can my players match this coach's personality? So good point there. Obviously, I already know where you're going. You're going to go Denver. I'm going New England. I have both teams on the road winning. Let's fast forward ahead here a little bit. The Super Bowl. We talked about it.
Seattle.
Yeah. Well, if you're going to say that, and I'm going to say New England, San Francisco, were you a fan of New York being named the Super Bowl? And some of my friends in New Jersey, New York, being the Super Bowl.
Initially, I was fine with it. I was a big believer that you should play football in any climate, whatever it is. If you want to have the Super Bowl in Green Bay, great. Think about that, Lambeau Field. But the more I've delved into this a little bit more and gotten more into the agency realm and gotten to know a little more about the sport, I don't like it anymore. Because the Super Bowl is not just the game; it's 2-week extravaganza of media, of interviews, and just anything and everything going on. And now all of that has to be moved inside. That has to be kept at certain places, and you're really limited with what you can do at this point.
Yeah,
I think it actually hurts the overall product of what the Super Bowl has become.
You know what, Jesse? We finally agree on something. I concur with you. I think that this was it was done. Obviously, you think of everything that the city of New York has been through and that region up there, and I can respect that. I think the good deed of that is great. However, the Super Bowl is an event, and it's not just a one-day event. It's a culmination of that week, leading up to it, or 2 weeks leading up to it. If you have weather, which up here in the north, we've been having, and especially going further north up to New York, the New England area, you could get ransacked by this. And one thing we already know living up here, especially here in the D.C. market as well, I don't care what day it is. I don't care what time it is. I don't care what the scenario is. You're going to sit in traffic. Yep. So now, if you can compound that with the weather, I think you actually put people at risk now trying to get to the game, get home from the game. People who aren't familiar with the traffic scenarios in New York may get lost. I just think that it could be a problem, a major problem. And I heard recently that the NFL has set it up so that they could possibly change the game if it's really bad, and you make it what, a Monday night game? Who wants
no
to?
way.
Yeah, who wants to do that in New York City, in New Jersey on Monday night in inclement weather?
No.
That could be a disaster. So
I don't think there's any way they move the game.
no way.
That would be a death knell.
It'll be a foot of snow and they're going to play.
Yeah.
And I think, hey, what we've seen, Jesse, let's be honest here. We've seen teams actually adapt pretty well, you know, to the weather. That, you know, a couple weeks ago, you know, all of us here in the Northeast was just, you know, demolished here as far as the snow. You know, every game that was on that day, you know, the Redskins KC game, the Eagles Lions game, the Ravens, you know, Vikings game, New England later on, all those games were just blizzard type conditions. So I think they're going to play regardless. So listen, man, you know, we're not going to give Super Bowl winner yet. You know, we still have.
No, I could do that.
Nah, come on. For the sake of the program,
No, I
you know,
know.
we'll have you come back on and we'll get all that stuff squared away. And you know, we'll see if Jesse's predictions of Denver, Seattle, you know, we'll see if that comes true, or my prediction of New England, San Francisco. Regardless, folks, whatever happens, we're going to have a heck of you know, a Sunday as far as football,
Yes.
and I think we're going to have a heck of a Super Bowl regardless of who wins. So we'll find out what happens. But look, we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, more with myself, Lake Lewis, right here, Lake Lewis Show.
Thank you, Lake.
If you're disabled and unable to work, pay attention to the following message.
If you're one of the millions of Americans who are disabled and unable to work, you may be entitled to disability benefits through Social Security. Receiving benefits is your right if you suffer from a physical or mental disability. Whether you're applying for the first time or you've already been denied, we can help. You'll be matched up with an advocate who will evaluate your situation, handle your application, deal with Social Security for you, and handle all appeals. Best of all, there's no fee until you receive your benefits. To get started, call the number on your screen now. And keep in mind, there are a vast number of conditions that make you eligible for disability benefits, and dozens of additions that you may not be aware of. So if you're disabled and unable to work, call the Citizens Disability Helpline today for a free, no-obligation consultation.
Call 1-800-735-0219. Call now.
Imagine with a simple push of a button, you could be on your way to getting firm, sculpted abs and a sexy waistline with the Contour Core Sculpting System. It's the breakthrough technology that requires no machines, no getting on the floor, no stress, and no strain.
Contour.
The Contour is the real deal.
The secret is Contour's exclusive auto-active muscle toning technology, the digital breakthrough that automatically targets all your abdominal muscles, including your upper abs, lower abs, obliques, and even that stubborn lower belly. Thermographic testing proves Contour activates your entire core. The Contour Core Sculpting System comes with a one-size-fits-all Contour Core Belt, electronic controller with custom digital settings, batteries, and a 1-year warranty, plus an instructional guide and sensible eating plan. And it's all yours to try for 30 days for just $14.95. There's never been an easier, more effective way to get great-looking abs. So call and order right now.
Health insurance update. This just in for all uninsured Americans with or without pre-existing conditions. The recent health care bill will not take effect until at least 2014, leaving families and individuals lacking health insurance with no immediate solution to their concerns. Meanwhile, medical problems continue to be the #1 cause of bankruptcies. Here's the good news. A health insurance hotline has been established to provide affordable health insurance for all uninsured Americans, and yes, uninsured Americans with pre-existing conditions. Call the number on your screen now, and in less than 10 minutes, you could receive a choice of affordable plans from the Hotline Network. This is not a discount card. You will have access to doctors, hospitals, dental care, infant care, and emergency services. Call the Health Insurance Hotline now and get you and your family covered today.
Call 800-794-1817. That's 800-794-1817. Call now.
Are you stressed over credit cards and other debts? Maybe through no fault of your own? Imagine how it would feel to have that weight lifted right off your shoulders. Well, here's some good news from America's trusted name in debt relief. Care One providers have already helped over 4.5 million people in debt, and we can help you today. Just call this toll-free number to speak with a friendly representative, and in just minutes, you'll get your free debt relief analysis.
Regardless of your situation, Care One has an option for you.
We are there to help, and we do that in a way that's empathetic and supportive without judging their financial situation.
The credit card companies, I feel, are trying to keep you in debt and trying to keep it so you owe them money forever. And Care One is a good way to get you out of that and get you out of it fast.
A big burden was lifted off of my shoulders.
Care One threw me a lifeline. Call Care One. They will help you.
Get debt relief from a company you can trust. Just call the toll-free number today.
Debt relief.